Almost. All right. Hope I don't get double feedback. Let's see what we have here. All right. All right, guys. Almost. I am getting double feedback. That's what I was waiting on. There it goes. Come back. All right. Hope I don't get double. I knew it. So I was waiting. I'm like, wait for it. Right. Hi, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another captivating episode of Chats with today. And we are joined with our multifaceted artist who loves the enchanting streets of New York City, is only reveled by her passion and the performing arts, Miss Helene, am I saying it right?
Helene, I say it rhymes with queen.
Helene Galen
yes.
is not just an actor, but a casting director, a writer. Listen, she's doing a little bit of everything, guys. She's a guiding light for those navigating the intricate world of acting. Helene's journey has seen her tread the boards of indie films, share the screen with TV veterans like Greg Malavey in the Rom-Com series. That reminds me, which I gotta watch more of that, because that was trumping everywhere. And I was like, it takes on the challenging role of the casting director, offering a unique perspective from both sides of the audition table. But that's not all. She also is a sought-after coach, generously sharing her wisdom with actors returning to the business. As we delve into today's conversation, we explore Helene's experiences, her insights into the acting world, and of course, her thoughts on Miss Babs Alexander's latest work. What is it, guys? Beginner to Broadway, a how-to guide for aspiring actors, from indie films to, oh my goodness, how do you say this? Norican?
Oh, it was the Nuyorican Poets Cafe.
Oh, the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. Okay.
That's been in the East Village since the 80s. However, they are closed now for 2 years because they may not do theater anymore. So that changed. I was supposed to get a theater production, but now they went back to spoken word, but they're closed because they want to redo the whole thing. I mean, it's an old building. It's been going on since the 80s.
I haven't been. So anyway, as you can see, we went straight into it. But ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the queen, Helene Galen, actor, casting director, writer, producer, you name it. New York's finest.
Well, hi, everybody. I can't see you, but I can feel you out there. And I'm happy to be here because I believe in passing the torch. And what's going to happen is if you stay with this business, you'll be doing the same thing in 5 or 10 years. Absolutely. Because what I love about this business is it's collaborative. And my philosophy is we are all in this together.
Yes.
All of us, whether you're director, casting director, producer, you can't do it without all the other people.
It's like the body parts, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And each part has its own working, but it affects the other person. Exactly. So it's so important. You know, Helene, when I first started acting, well, that was when I was a kid, but as I grew up, I had this desire and this passion. And I remember the last video my father made, and he was like, "What do you want to do to grow up?" You know, they always make those. I was like, "I'm gonna perform." Wait, I'll never forget. I'll never forget saying that, you know. And however, my mother was like, "You okay?" Right after you get a job as a certified music teacher, I was like, "You got to be kidding me, Mom." You know, I got to go to college and do that. She's like, "Of course, you're not going to be that starving artist. And if you did, it's only because you want to and not because you had to," which was a very wise decision, which is something else I wrote in that book. So, because that's one thing I want everyone to know. when you jump into the world that we love so well, which is performing and acting, you tell us a little bit, how did you get started as an actress?
Okay, so my love of it came right away. My parents thought it was nice when I was 5, because I was very into sports, that I should have dance lessons also. And the minute we had the recital, and I'm in costume and I did ballet and tap, I was like, oh, I love this. People are clapping, people are looking at me. It's very, like, a lot of kids would get stage fright, and I'm like, this is enjoyable. Moms are all alike. And they said, no, we're not paying for a theater degree. You can minor in it. But I also got a teaching degree. But I made sure until college, I was in the high school plays, the community theater plays. I sang at Temple. I mean, whatever I could sing or act, I would do. And the same thing with college. Now, when I came out of college, I started getting a master's. And this is funny, it's right out of Chorus Line. I was sitting in a class of comedy and they're discussing what comedy is. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to do it. So I had started acting class when I got to New York as well. They were both in the Village, and there was a play going on. And this was NYU when I'm a master's dropout, but I was still there. And they were doing a musical. And I was studying musical theater because I felt comfortable that I went to school there. I felt comfortable auditioning, and I got it. So that was my first job, was a musical at NYU. And then, you in class is when you network. And then somebody asked me to do my second show. I didn't even have to audition. And I was, with big people, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Now, it was a very different world then than it is now. Some things are the same, but the methods have changed a little bit, the needs and the methods.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I want you to go. Now, you talked about a couple things. You hit a couple things. First of all, as someone who had a passion to want to perform, you started at an early age, and you started getting into every single thing that you possibly could do at the various ages that you were going, as you were advancing into adulthood. And you talked about the local theaters and community theaters and all these different things that you were doing prior to doing that. Now, tell me this, and I want to understand this.
Sure.
While you were doing all of these things, did it help you to build a resume, or did it help you to build a presence? Were you able, say for instance, if you were to start at that age, were you able to use any of that to go onto your resume as you were building up going into college?
Yes, I think everything you do adds to something. What was interesting, I'm from upstate, and the community theater that I was involved in, there were a lot of actors who actually were New York professional actors who were doing off Broadway, but especially in those days, it wasn't paying anything. And a lot of them said, okay, well, I can't afford it. So they, went upstate, and they're working. They were performing, but they had their other jobs. So I was a teenager then, and I learned a lot, and I had a really good director. And I don't know if I necessarily had a resume then, because that wasn't really necessary then. But everything you do, you learn, and that never ends. I mean,
so you were doing building blocks as you were going. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As you went from there, so I'm seeing, as you left from high school and then you went into college, because then you wanted to be a theater major, but again, like your mother said, you can be a minor, but you're going to do something.
I'm not paying for this. All right. I'm saying they're all alike. Now, college was interesting because they had a special theater program that was only for theater majors, and they would only do one production a year for the non-majors. So I took, and they even had classes that only non-majors could take. So I just made sure I took them all, and I got into every non-major play. And it was interesting because I had stopped, I started dancing, and then I got bored with it because I didn't like keeping my mouth shut. I'm kind of a show off. So then later on as my teens, I've always liked singing, but I started taking singing lessons. But when I left high school, it was a very political time. And I said, I'm going to be this, badass. I'm going to play these dramatic roles, these socially conscious roles. Yeah, I didn't look it. I was cute. So I got to New York. That's why I said, well, let me go into musical theater. And that's where I got work. They always say sometimes you have to go where the work is. And if you look at some of the big stars, if you look at their beginning roles, they all get cast in their immediate essence. And then as they build their career, some director will say, you know what, I want to see you in this type of role. But they probably couldn't have gotten it if they were just starting out.
Okay, so you said that now they have to find their essence and go where work is in order for you to be able to start to get some work. So you can get into the industry. All right, that's good. That's good. We're getting a lot of things here.
Yeah.
Got a pen and paper like I do. So we can all right, so that is awesome. So now when you say now you got into your first, do you remember what was the name of your first?
I do remember it. Yes, it was a musical called Leave It to Jane. It was Jerome Kern, who's more famous for Showboat, his first musical. And it kind of looked and sounded like his first musical. It was written, I think it was written in 1918. It was about these two colleges who were football rivals, and they took one girl to be like the spies. It was like,
oh my goodness.
I remember the lyrics. It was like, leave it to Jane, Jane, Jane. She is the girl with brain. So I'm just saying, this was his very first musical.
See, sound like it was golden age, pretty much, huh?
It was, yes. It was right around where World War I was. And it was probably because, when the boys came home, everybody was more into,
Oh my goodness. All right, that's awesome. And see, that's the one thing I do believe is one of the things that we will never forget is when you're in there, you start getting into these scenes and start doing some things. You start remembering things and it helps you. It helps you to grow. And tell me what types of things that helped you from getting into that musical that happened previously from local or community before. What did you feel like, I'm glad I did this because it's helping me do this now? Was there any one thing or?
No, I think it was everything, but I had auditioned. I had 2 months studying musical theater. I just thought it would be fun. But then I found, no, this is where I need to be. This is where I'm going to be marketable. So I was studying for 2 months. And it was funny because sometimes acting class, it's not that it's scary, but even at this age, you're with your peers, you're going to get critiqued, even if it's a kind critique. And so my teacher, thank God, he prepared us. When we went into class, he would darken the lights, because in the old days, when you auditioned for a musical, you auditioned on stage. You didn't audition in a studio. He told us how to give the music to the accompanists, point out where I'm starting, where I'm ending, hit the beat out, pick your spot. And it was a little nerve-wracking. But after 2 months of class, it was like auditioning was actually more comfortable. It was actually less scary. So I went in and I did what I learned in class, basically.
That's a good class.
Yeah,
I really, and that was something, even with Beginner to Broadway, something I really, really wanted to talk to people about, because finding quality classes, acting classes, even reputable classes help you to be able to get in front of directors sooner. Now, I had an opportunity, and I don't know if this happened to you, but I gave see, you're from New York. I'm from Gary, Indiana. So me coming from Indiana in my nice little country town, I put down, our community theater was the high school. We didn't have a big theater. Matter of fact, our Broadway, Michael Jackson, it was the the cinema, and he performed there. Then they shut that down a little bit after that, and then they were gone on. But long story short, we used to do Wirt Theater, Lew Wallace Theater, and these types of things. So when I came in, I put down, hey, I was at the Wirt Theater. It was local. He was like, what? Where is this? Where's the Wirt Theater? I was like, in Gary, Indiana. It's like, we don't know anything about that. You need to take some acting classes around here. So that's when I was like, okay, all right. So then I think I found the Simon Studio.
Yes, I
in
know.
New York, and I went over and I started auditing some classes, and I started learning some things. But again, it was a process. It really wasn't a book to tell you everything. Now I put it all in the book, as you can tell. Right. Did you just read the book?
Yeah, I did. No, I read it. Yes.
I tried to put as much information in there as possible for them so they won't have that problem. Now, as you are still practicing or still doing things, do you have any schools or recommendations in the city that others would like to do, so that when they come in, they can be able to also go and check out those classes?
Okay, so I'm a little hesitant to just pick schools. So I'm going to say this. There are a lot of good ones, but you see, what I might like, somebody else might not like. It's the same thing with photographers. I'm not clicking with this photographer, no pun intended, but somebody else said, no, I love working with this person. I think you put in the main ones. Everybody's got to find out, do I like Meisner technique? Do I like the Strasberg technique? So I don't want to say good or bad. I just know that different teachers, you'll get something different, and the whole point is to study. But if you're feeling uncomfortable or something's not jarring, you should not be forced to stay. And so sometimes some teachers will let you audit, or at least you have an interview, and everything in life, not just this career, is by your gut too.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Now you said something else, Helene, and I thank you so much for doing this with us, because we have a lot of people with a lot of questions, and I want to make sure I ask all their questions.
Absolutely.
There. Now you said something about make yourself marketable. Use the techniques and the talents you have and go into that field first. Can you expound upon that just a little bit more?
That is? So I'll just tell you this, that's not easy. When I was starting out, there was types, and it was very vague. So my type was, I was what they call the soubrette in musical theater. In the old musicals, every innocent ingenue had a wise guy best friend who was the belter and the dancer. So like that was my slot, or the kind of dumb chorus girl who speaks in a squeaky voice with an accent. And it's funny because I wanted to do different roles, but that's what my groove was. So it has changed over the years. And I'll tell you something, I work with a coach. And that's another thing that no matter where you are in your career, even big stars, they work with acting coaches. They work with sometimes business coaches. And one of my business coaches too, we were talking, like, I'm selling myself now. I'm in a new age group, and what's out there. And we came up with something very specific. I actually work with one friend who has a whole worksheet and comes up with adjectives and things. So that's something that's never going to stop, because you're going to change every few years. The industry is going to change. I used to be strictly character woman. Now, because women's looks is a little bit more flexible, it's more ambiguous, I can be up for leads now. Not just, yes, I get hired by friends. They know I'm funny, so they put me in as the funny second banana. But people who don't know me, I can do the leads. But for me, it took me longer to get the gravitas. I'm very girly. But, so that's something that's never going to stop.
Okay.
That is never going to, every few years, you got to look at yourself. Do my headshots still work? What am I, you have to think of yourself as a business person. That's really what's changed.
Okay.
And it was hard for sometimes people in my age group who didn't have to think about that. It was like, that's not my job. It is my job now. I have to know. It's almost like if I was a baker and I was baking the best chocolate chip cookies. Why are my chocolate chip cookies different than all the other brands out?
Absolutely.
Am I going to be shy about wanting you to taste it or sell it? No, but I have to know. And I, pick lettering and I pick the packaging and I am selling that. Because so they say, think about when you reach for something, sometimes I pick wine out because I like the label. But so that's changed. You have to, it actually is scary, but it actually empowers you now because now you have a website. You have clips, you have a whole package, which we didn't have in those days.
Wow. Now you're talking about that package. Go right there. Let's talk about the tools of the trade that they should have when they're doing this, because COVID, I mean, it was already changing. It was already changing.
Yes, it was.
COVID
yes,
really changed it to a point where you all as casting directors can get every single thing you need at the touch of your hand instead of having to put everything in a packet and throw a USB in there and send it off to you. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Oh, sure. So I do want to say though, if whoever's listening, if you're just starting out from scratch, don't put pressure on yourself. Give yourself 6 to 8 months. It takes time. I redid my whole packaging last year. New photos, new resume, a new website. I did everything. And I said, I'm not rushing. I'm going to take my time. Well, first of all, financially, unless you're very wealthy, you're going to need the time to spread it out. But yeah, take your time. Don't put pressure. But the difference between now and then, okay, so the headshot, the resume, you must have a clip of your work. You don't have to have a reel. If you've not done any film, you can get another actor and hire a director. And those studios now, they're equipped like we have these backgrounds, and get someone to professionally direct just a short scene. Because even in my level, I don't work in the network, I work in the indie market. There's no director. If they don't see any clip on your work, they're not interested. And so it takes time, but that's what I'm saying. You start, like you said, your high school credit. Okay, but if you don't have anything, you put that down. The minute you get your first professional credit, you take that off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, as I was doing things, I was picking things off. And, so now you see off Broadway, off Broadway, this and that. So that really helps. So you said as a new person, they should give themselves about 6 to 8 months as they're building and learning and building up their repertoire and creating themselves a short scene. Now, let's just let me just act like I'm and by the way, I got to redo mine too, because if somebody goes and look at my backstage, it'd be like,
I'm a little behind. I have to tweak my casting resume. The 6 to 8 months was for me. I don't mean that that's a time. They may do it in shorter time. I just meant realistically to pay for all this.
Right.
But I want them not to feel like, oh, I have to get this done like right away. Like, that's what I'm saying. Pace yourself.
Yes.
But that's what I meant. Some might need longer, some might need a year, but you do it. Yeah.
It's round. It's round. And that's what I really want them to understand, that the acting world is liquid and you can jump in and you jump out and the thing is going to still be going whether you're in it or not. So don't feel like you have to rush everything, because then you have the right product.
Yes.
So it's important. And and everything's in phases, just like you just talked about how you transition from one character to the next. How you was the side chick at one point, now you can be the main character.
Right.
So that type of thing is so important, because me immediately they're like, oh, there's the mother role. I'm like, I'm tired of it. When can I be the main character? And where's big roles for the big Black women? Where they at?
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't want to always be motor mouth Mabel either.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, you know what? The older actors, guess what? A lot of us don't have white hair and rocking chairs.
Right?
I'm working out. I lift weights. I mean, sometimes the casting, it falls behind what's happening. Sometimes it's ahead. It was so weird in the 60s and 70s. If you looked at commercials, they looked like they were stuck in the 50s. Like women were getting liberated. They're still doing housewife. Now, if you look at the commercials, they're actually ahead. They've been ahead where couples are interracial. And I love the fact that they had a Swifter commercial where the actor had one arm, but he was using his one arm to use the Swifter, but nothing was said about it. It was just like, okay, well, he just happened to have. So I like that. And the fact that, oh God, was it Dove or no, Beach Nut? One of the baby things, use somebody with Down syndrome. So the commercial.
I've seen the one with the different, the color patches. I forgot what they call that. With the dermatology, with the skin dermatology. You know how people have different discolorations? I've seen a lot of those commercials with various people and skin pigmentation.
Yes.
So yeah.
So that's it, it's moved there, but I'm even waiting for TV and film and not to make older actors like the bane of a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So here's the question that I've gotten asked 1,000 times.
Sure.
When you walk into that audition room and you all ask us to do our slate and tell what we're going to do. What are you thinking? Are you saying, say, for instance, it is a traditional play that has been going on for years. Let's just say, I'm just going to say The Wiz because it's out right now. The Wiz. Yeah. All right. When you think of Dorothy and The Wiz, are you looking for the little girl in the little dress and all the little Afro girl, or are you looking for me to come in with my mindset of me as Dorothy in my own style? What are you thinking? Where are their minds? How do we figure this out?
Okay, so what happens is when I get a job, whether it's a musical or not, I sit down with the director. And the first thing I do is I see where we can widen the parameters. So I'll get a list of characters. So unless it's like a specific African-American story or a specific story where every actor is over 65, like if it's that specific, but if it's not, then I say, can this role, can they be of any race, any ethnic background? And I know, because sometimes a playwright will put an age range, but that's just to give an idea. But I'll ask the director, can I play with that a little bit? Can I play with the height requirements? Things like that. So I get that from the director. So when you're saying, do they have to look like that? I think nowadays directors are more open. They're looking for an essence. And you're right. Like, what is a little girl? Is it somebody who's 4'11", or is it somebody that has this natural naivete? I mean, I have friends like my age who just look so innocent because that's how they look at the world, you know? So I know personally for me, this is the casting people have trusted me. I like to go a little bit out of these really strict. The old days was like that, where they really didn't see, unless somebody changed their mind. Like I remember I was reading about Pippin. The original leading player they pictured as an old man. But then Ben Vereen came in. Now, Ben Vereen was young in age, but he had that quality. He wasn't boyish. He had that man, that old man, that knowledgeable man, and he changed their mind. So sometimes that can happen where you have a preconceived notion. But I know personally for me, I try to widen the parameters as much as I can, still keeping the authenticity of the character.
Awesome. So let's talk about the singing when they're up there. How much change can they do? Or they need to keep the song, the essence of the song, and not just go bananas with it. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I know that a lot of people, and look, I enjoy watching The Voice and America's Got Talent and all that, but a lot of that's pop, and it's the pop world, I should say, not Broadway. Okay. And you know what was really cool? even on The Voice, I remember Adam Levine said somebody had this big voice and was doing all these riffs, like going up, and he caught them on it. And he said, I know you can do that, but I feel like you're just doing it to show your voice. You're not doing it as a choice for the song, where the emotion is going. So with musical theater, you do pretty much have to keep what is on the page. You might end an ending. I used to sometimes change the ending if I wanted, a more flashy, stamp on it. But they're looking to keep what was written.
Continuity.
Yeah, it's like you can change it once you have a cabaret act and you want to put your own stamp on it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I really wanted to. You always say do more of the tradition, but not so traditional that you're trying to be Susie, because Susie's already there. They're doing the auditions consistently for a reason, and they're looking for originality in there, but not so original that you didn't took the whole original concept of what the play was actually about away from the play.
Right.
Yeah. So now I always tell them about these voice types, because I'm a vocal coach. So
yes, absolutely. Yep.
So when they're looking into these voice types, there are times when they're in the rooms with you all, and we hear, can you do that again? But this time, not so brassy. Or can you do that as if you are a teenager? And then they want a variation of styles. Can you tell us a little bit why these things are happening and what's the mindset there?
Because I want to see if you can take direction. Because no, but sometimes, okay, just for an example, I went to a casting director's workshop yesterday where we were all given scenes. And first of all, you look at the scene and you figure out what's being said and what you want the other character to feel, all that stuff. And I went in with my instinct, and she even said, well, I like it, but you know what I want to see? I want to see this person. She's at the end of her rope, and she's this. And so I changed it. I mean, and it was fun because I could do that, because a lot of times you don't know what they're thinking. You have to come in with an idea. But I wanted to add, even with musical theater, it's still acting. And when I saw Broadway, this was years ago, Jerome Robbins' Broadway, his dancer, you have to act that's what dancing is. In musical theater, the reason why you sing and dance, because the emotion you're feeling is so strong, can be happiness, anger, excitement, fear. It has to come out in the song. It has to come out in your feet. And that's what dancing and singing are in musical theater.
Okay, because you're feeling the whole thing with your body.
Yeah, it's your acting. You're acting a role.
Right. And that's what I said. I was watching, I think I was watching Kingdom Business yesterday, and as I was watching it, the guy was like, no, and she was like, I mean, I'm singing this song. What's the problem? He says, you have no connection to this song. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
No one wants to come and hear a great singer and there's no connection.
Right.
The whole purpose is to move them through emotion. Whether it's film or musical theater, you still need to move someone through emotions. So if that's the case, what type of classes do you think a person should take in order for them to find their rhythm in emotions?
No, it's a great question, because piggybacking on what you said about coming in and auditioning or finding a good acting class. So sometimes you can get both, but a lot of times you go to acting class or singing class for the technique. Then there's some people who specialize in auditioning. That's a whole other skill.
Right.
That's getting the job, not that I have the job. Now, some people do both. And I mean, when we were doing Zoom, I was taking a lot of on camera because we were doing self-tapes. That was a new skill I had to learn. So the kind of classes there are a lot of good musical theater classes where they'll talk about, they might even find like a song for you, and they'll go through that, because like you said, if director and producer and casting director are hearing, they might ask you to do a song for the show. So let's say you were Dorothy, they're going to hear, Home 200 times. But you really have to get clear. And, they call it the actor's secret. Like, let's say you could be singing to your dog. You don't have to be singing to your mother. It doesn't matter. It's got something that you connect with. And I have a teacher, too, that talks about the song's a monologue. So he has us just do it as a monologue. Mm-hmm. And he always asks, who are you talking to? Where are you? What do you want them to feel?
Backstory.
Yeah. After you sing the song, how do you want them to react? Because you're never alone. Even when you're doing a monologue, you're talking to somebody.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
awesome. That's really good. Now let me ask you this. As far as the monologues, then I'm gonna start wrapping it up because I don't want to make it too long.
I have time.
As far as the monologues are concerned, inside their audition book, their rep book, what types of monologues should they have in there? Should it be a variety of different types of monologues? Because you never know what one is going to ask you.
Yeah, I wouldn't go crazy. I mean, let's say if you're starting off, the same thing with songs. If you're a new singer, get your uptune, get your ballad from musical theater, then maybe have a pop song. So that are you doing Oklahoma? Or are you going to do Mean Girls, which is a style? Then as you progress, you can always add another one. Like, let's say, oh my God, I'm always up for country western. So you'll get something like that. Or I'm up for like the angry, so like you'll get something, I don't know, from not the Wizard. I can't even think of it. You'll get something like, I'm just trying to think of it, like a Patti LuPone character, Idina Menzel. Because if that's where you find yourself. And and as an ingenue, you'll get Moana, but you want to get a traditional ingenue. From She Loves Me, if you're a coloratura. So the same thing with monologues. Start off with a comedy one and then get one. And when I say drama, it doesn't have to be like, oh, and all the 20 emotions. It's not necessary to show, yes, I can do all 20 emotions. Get something that means for you. The drama is where you're really like bearing your soul or you're confronting somebody. I feel, this is my opinion, that I try to keep everything under a minute because our minds get made up in 10 seconds. I wouldn't go on to 2. A lot of the audition notices, they'll say 2-minute monologue, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, if you can cut it even, because we already know, if we're interested or not.
Right.
And I just want to say also that even though we're getting back to live auditions, a lot of times the first step, especially if you're non-union, union now, the union, they're open, they're doing everything live. But for a lot of the independent ones, the self-tape is still the first step of the audition. And it will be for TV and film. So I did this during the pandemic, but I'm still holding on to it, where I just took my comic monologue and my dramatic monologue and just had somebody professionally tape them.
Okay.
There are people who do that just to have them. Like, what if the last minute somebody said, do you have anything? Do you have a clip of your work? That's on my Actors Access, and I have it. So, but I would start out, and then if you're someone who's very interested in Shakespeare and you've trained, you do the same thing. You do a comic and a dramatic monologue in Shakespeare. I don't think nowadays you have to have that much. I think you're going to have to just test it as long as you have those two.
Dramatic.
As long as you have those two. Later on, depending on what you're doing, as I said, if you're going into Shakespeare, if you're going into Greek tragedies, I don't know if you're going into spoken word, those, but usually they give you time for that too.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So now we've gone into a couple things here, and we've talked about a myriad of things. But it was one thing that I want to go back to that you said, and I was going to hit it, and then I forgot it. And that is the spirit of networking.
Mm.
How important is networking? Should I just be out there on the island? Because I travel all over the world by myself. Matter of fact, I'm going to Dubai on Tuesday. So, how important is it to just be able to open your mouth and communicate and become friends with one that's not right next to you?
It is so important. But if you're not, you know what, you don't have to be the life of the party. I know some people, I'm not shy, and I don't think you are, but some people are. They're hesitant. So I have business cards, which I've always used. I stopped during the pandemic, and then I had to get them again. And sometimes when, let's say you're seeing a film screening, and most of the time people go to film screenings, they're actors, they're in the business, they're directors, producers. I'll even go up to the director and say, hey, I really liked your film, may I give you my card? I'm an actor and I'm a casting director. And you could be talking to anybody. You could be at a play, or sometimes there are networking groups. So you don't have to even give a lot, but it's good to it's good to do that. Most of my work is through people I know, and most of my casting work is I was referred to. It's all, most of the time it's referrals. And I think it's not just going to parties, it's being in an acting class. Like that's the best. That's how I started out meeting people, and how I got my second show working with Broadway people is by being in acting class. And I didn't even have to audition, because I even said, do you want me to audition? He goes, no, I see you in class every week, I know what you do. And so that's always a good thing to start, especially if you've stopped, or you're about to start, or you feel disconnected. Get into a live class, not just the Zoom, because a lot of them are going back to, I mean, it's good. I do Zoom also, but it's good to be in a live class when you're seeing people. And then, you hang out during the break and you start talking to each other. Again, not a rush, but every time you go out, every time you do something, you collect your people, and keep in touch. I did that during the pandemic. I would just write to a director and say, hey, I'm just reaching out to say hello, hope everything's okay. If I can be of service. That was a big theme that came up with pandemic. Not just asking people if I can be of service.
You just said something. Writing to the director.
Mm-hmm.
Right to the director. That's a serious one. Now, as I was on Clubhouse, I heard another casting director, can't think of his name right now, talking about the notes to the casting directors, and how when you send a message to them, have something to say. Have something of substance, or go back to something that was funny that happened during there, where you thought it was something that they could remember. So how important is it to be able to have a follow-up note to the casting director?
It's very important. And I said, I've let it go a little bit during the last couple of months, because I have been busy casting, but now I'm an actor again. And I just wrote to someone I've been following on Instagram. We have a couple people in common. We never met, but he's doing a project I want to work on. So I had him get to know me during Instagram. I liked his things. And I just sent him an email. I don't know if he's going to read it or get back to me, but I just said, I'm so excited. Thank you for sharing. I know you're working on this project. I would love to be considered for it when the time comes. And I wish you all the best. You have to, that's what I'm saying about sales. You have to put it out there. It may not be everybody, but also I need reminders. I mean, even when an actor will say, oh, I auditioned for you years ago. And I go, well, how come you haven't been in touch? I have time to answer them. A lot of bigger ones won't. But then the next time you see them, they go, oh, wait a minute, I know you. Because that's that whole advertising thing. I have to see you 7 times before it sticks in my head. Yes. And short is always good. You just say, hey, or you even, like, if you were listening like to Clubhouse or Instagram, hey, I just heard your podcast. I loved when you said this. That was so good, Babs. You mentioned something, even if it's like they love their dog or they like to play pickleball. So you mentioned something like, oh, I do too. Like I recently did a short film and I'd love to keep in touch. All the best. That's all you need to say. You don't have to, no long letters.
Okay, so what about the feedback ones? Like
Mhm.
one time I was doing, and this did change my life.
Yes.
I was doing a hairspray, and I'm like, I know that my singing is okay. So what is the problem?
Oh, here for yes.
And I was like, I need to know. You got to tell me, why is it that I was not casted? And when the guy sent an email back and said, I would be more than happy to talk to you.
Mhm.
And then he was like, your singing is second to none. Your acting, you need to come in just like you were owning your singing, the same way with the acting. Don't read, come in knowing what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And when I was like, oh my goodness, came back, hit 4 in a row. I couldn't even get them all because it was like, okay, who's paying the most money?
Wow.
Because so
That was really good of that person.
yeah.
And it was good for you, but it was good for you to receive that, because a lot of casting people don't want to say that, because, you know, actors can get a little crazy too sometimes. Now, most of the time though, I've had friends who cornered me, but the thing is, the majority of the time, because I'm casting people who have like resumes who've worked, it has nothing to do with your talent. You didn't, you know, my friend always does this because she wants to support me. She goes, Helene, they wanted like a funny redhead. You'd be so great. I go, okay, great. Do you know how many funny redheads there are? Yes, I would be great for it too, but I'm not the director. The director has the vision. And then you have to look like you fit into the world of the play or the film. You have to look like, if you're casting a family, if you're casting enemies, you have to, just for an example, and I love the fact that I work with directors who check in with me. So we were casting, it was a real offbeat comedy. And so we had the lead, and the lead was a real player. So we were looking for the guy that he actually bamboozles. So the director said, it was down to a couple guys. He goes, God, I really love this, like, actor A. I loved his audition. He's so good. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, but he's too much like the first actor. So it's not going to work. He's not going to be bamboozled. He's got to play what they call the schmuck, you know, the one who gets picked on. So I said, no, it has to be actor B. He has to be the foil. And the thing is, I saw the play and he turned out to be amazing. You know, maybe the other one auditioned better, had a better audition, but a lot of times it's what's going to fit in. It's not always the best and the most beautiful. Well, who's going to tell the story? Because I don't know about you, but I see a lot of theater and film, and especially with theater, I'm like, I don't believe them. I don't believe they're lovers. I don't believe they're married. It's not working. It's missing something. And that's chemistry. And that has nothing to do with acting talent. That's just, sometimes you have chemistry and sometimes you don't.
So true.
And that's not something you can work on it either. It's either there or not. So, you know, so that might have a lot, but no, that you got a specific thing, and that was good that you took it. But then again, you could be auditioning again for more Maybells, and you won't get it because the other characters, Seaweed and what's her name, Little Arnell, I love that musical. You know, maybe they're different heights, maybe they're different ages, and you don't really kind of look like you're not old enough to be their mom. Like sometimes that happens. I mean, I still audition for stuff. People go, you're not really old enough. I go, yes I am, but in their heads, you know.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you one more question.
No, go ahead. But I just wanted to say, so for the most part, you can't take it personally, even though we all do.
So true. So true. And you know, that was that callback, because I after that I went on to do the audition for the tour, and I got called back 5 times, and I was like, you just let this lady walk right off the street. She only did one audition and y'all cast her. I mean, like, what happened? They were like, oh, she had auditioned before and we wanted her from the last time, so we just cast her for this one. I was like, that was a waste of all of our time to stay here for 5 days to be able to go back and forth with a callback. But news.
But can I just add one more thing though? But the thing is about when you go in for an audition, whether it's film or TV or musicals or plays, book the room. It's not about getting the job. You book the room because they'll remember you for next time. I did that this summer. The director wanted this one woman for this country western, and I went, she's good, but she's so not country western. I said the other one's better. She's more Upper East Side. A month later, I get a director going, I'm looking for somebody who's like an Upper East Side Republican. And I went, I have someone for you. Got it. So you book the room.
Okay. Book the room.
Book the room because everybody works on a lot of projects. They can't hire you this time. They may hire you next time. I've called people back sometimes, many times before I cast them. And I still have actors I still haven't cast yet, but I know they're good. I keep a short list. I know who's going to come in and deliver.
Okay. Yeah. That was
really I just had to stick that in because that's important.
That was very good because I'm like, well, I know that one myself. Book the room, not the role. So I'm gonna have to use that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's not my phrase. It's something I learned. I'm passing on everything I learned because, as I said, I'm still learning. I'm still gathering info as the business keeps changing, and you have to keep up with the changes.
Absolutely. So tell us some things that you think we should know as we start to wrap up this interview.
Yes,
what things that we should know that we should keep in mind as we're going on this journey of auditions? And I'm still an actress too, so I'm
so we're
inquiring minds want to know.
I'm sorry. What was the question? What
the question was, what is it that we should keep in mind? That we should know as we go through this journey, or what is it that you want to tell us that we, that we did not cover at this time?
That it is a journey. It's not a one-shot trip. It's not going to be, you see a graph. It's not going to be like, I got this, and then I'm going to hit the top. It could go down and up and around and all this. Because that's what I thought when I was younger, because nobody talked about this. I have to mention one thing. Nobody talked about anything. Now it's almost, there's too much information. And sometimes you can get bogged down. And I have fallen the trap. Like if I'm feeling insecure, I'll buy another course. I'll buy another thing. And I realize it's called the shiny object syndrome, like to stop grabbing. At some point you always have to feel I'm enough. Doesn't mean I can't learn, but I'm enough for now. And then you go. So, the real trust in yourself, people were telling me for years, be yourself. Like, what does that mean? I'm a character actress. I did sketch comedy too. So I played all characters. I go, I don't know who I am. I like hiding behind characters. But now I know what they're talking about. Now that I'm on the other side, I know what they're talking about.
Of being yourself.
Yeah.
That is so important. And this came back because I know it bugged me. I'm not sure if it'll ever bug anybody else. I went into a casting room. You said it earlier, where the casting director is listening to somebody. If they're doing Dorothy, they probably hear home 200 times. Right. But as a new actor, and going into a casting room and you're sitting in there with your little paper, you're already nervous because it's your first audition in your whole life. You've been waiting on this all your life. And oh my God, you're literally standing here and people are going to be calling you soon. Somebody comes in and says, hey, I heard it was auditions. Give me your music. I'm going in. And then you hear them sing your song and then you go back and now it's your turn. What is it that you tell the new artist that is getting ready to perform, even though someone else just performed their song because they don't know they're really a neophyte? What would you say to them?
Oh my God, you're bringing back deja vu when I used to do the singing auditions. Sometimes now that the live ones are back and you'll be sitting in the hallways, I try to keep the blinders on. If you feel like I don't want to chat because I really want to get centered, I might want to meditate, I might want to walk away and give yourself a pep talk or go over your music. Don't get caught up in somebody who wants to chat. You can, you can be polite and just say you're working on something. Actors don't do this enough, and I'm learning too. Let's say you go in and they're rushing you, or they want you to do this, or they want to, I don't know, they want to do something. It's okay to go, may I have a minute, especially if they're, usually directors will go if they want you to look at another role. They say, why don't you go out and look at it? But if you feel, but you should take your time. So you don't rush in the room and go, oh my God, I can't take up time. I have the minute. You walk in, it is your audition. You say hello. Usually the casting person, because I also assist big musical theater casting people. So they are like me. They come in, they actually go out of the room, or I may be the one that brings them in and introduces them to everybody so that they don't even have to do that. And then, and they all say hi. And then the person as I said, it's very important to communicate to the accompanist. A good accompanist won't start. You take your, place, you take a second, you give a little, nod, and then you start, but you call the shots. Don't feel rushed. Like I got to do all this.
Okay.
So then the audition is going to get away from you.
So they need to keep the blinders on, be focused.
If people are chatting, you have to figure out what is it that you need to do to not so much relax, but just go in as your best self. As I said, some people meditate, some people move away, some people read, some people now they have AirPods, which we didn't have in those days. So you can be listening and people, oh, she's working on her song. There doesn't have to even be anything playing, but you know what I mean? But the point is, when you do go in, to take your time, make sure the accompanist knows exactly how to play. He or she might do like a few notes. Yep, that's it. Take your spot. Don't take like 5 minutes, but take that moment to get into the character, think of who you're talking to. And then, as I said, they won't start until you give them like a little nod, like, I'm ready.
Right.
And it's the same thing if you're doing scenes. If you're reading with a reader, a good reader too will ask, when you're ready, and they'll let you know. But always, this is your audition. And when you're done, don't explain, don't complain. That's a rule too. Don't go, oh my God, I was so late in the subway, or I have a cold. Nobody wants to hear that. You just say, thank you so much, and walk out gracefully.
Don't explain, don't complain. We should have a whole little group what things that you say and don't say in an audition.
We'll put on Post-its.
Nobody wants to hear it. All right. Thank you so much, Helene, for joining us today and just being able to come and give us all of these great nuggets.
Sure.
Is there anything else you want to say, or can you tell us about some of your book that's coming out? Tell us a little bit about where are we going from here?
So yes, I've already told some friends I'm not going to be seeing your shows for the next 2 months. I need my time. When I was growing up, there was a Gothic soap opera called Dark Shadows. And it was like the first cult show, and we were all into it. And in those days, you didn't have recording devices, so everybody had to run home, and that's why the title is I ran home to watch Dark Shadows. So I kind of watched it over the years, but during the pandemic, it was on streaming. So I always laugh. I go, boy, you can watch it whenever you want now. And I started watching it again. You have to realize this is from the 60s. The tech was definitely different. But I'm watching it as an actor and casting director. And I was afraid I would be cringing, but I was even more impressed. They taped it live. They were all theater actors. They got the script like in the late afternoon. They would meet. They have a table read, go to the studio at 8 a.m. They were working on their lines. They had blocking, and they taped it like at 4 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Even if like something fell or you forgot your line, you can't improv because it was timed live with commercials. So I'm looking at, and even the ones that they cast, I'm looking at the casting. Sometimes like somebody had a 1 day stint or a 2 day, and they were all good. So that's what it is. I'm revisiting something and looking at the show through the eyes of the older actor, the older person. I was a teen when it was on, and just talking about that. And it's still, the thing is, it's still huge. There's like 1 million Facebook groups.
Oh, wow.
And I've gotten to know some of the actors. They still do little conventions and stuff. It is like the vampire, it lives on forever. So it's a passion project. It's not going to be this huge book that everybody's going to read, but it's something I want to finish. This is why I write short pieces. They're easier to finish.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, I want to make sure you let me know. I want to.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, and thank you so much, Helene.
Oh, thank you.
You on the show, and thank you so much for. Make sure you get a chance to come back and
I'd love to. Yeah.
About this this was it book, film, or short? You're gonna make it all three?
No, this is just going to be a book. I have a couple short film ideas with friends. The hardest part is getting together, but I also am working on an essay. I wrote an essay about the self-shaming of aging, but in order for me to send it off to another publication, I have to change it. So now I have different ideas. And I also want to write about going back to your high school reunion. Because that has provoked so many of us, like, oh my God, I had a great time. But I'm just saying, the minute you say that, everybody becomes, 14 and gonna go, oh my God, like he was so mean to me, and oh, I look like this and all that. And when we all met, we were all like so happy that we were all still here. That was
absolutely and that's exactly
that was really it. Nobody was like, oh, you did it. And we all had good memories. Everybody went, oh, you said this to me, and I've never forgotten it. And we all did this. It was really beautiful, actually. But anyway.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another great podcast with casting director Helene Galen. And please make sure you go out and check out some of her films and movies, her indie movies. I'm going to get a check. I want to see the what is it? This Room. I think that's the one I'm going to see.
That reminds me.
Me. See,
let me just see it on Tubi, because that's free there, because Amazon you have to pay for it. It's a 1-season show. You can actually binge it in an hour.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go check it out.
I've done it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say you can get in an hour. Some of my other stuff is not on anymore. I did a guest star on a series that was on Black Oak Entertainment, but they change a lot, so I don't know if that's on there. But I've done some sketch comedy that sometimes is still on Amazon Prime Video, and then I have a few short films coming out this year. They're still on the festival route, so they're not playing anywhere. They have to do the festival thing. So.
That's another one thing. I want to go to the indie festival.
Yes, it's really good. It's though, even when I've gone to one where I didn't know anybody, you just get impressed with the creativity.
Oh, I've heard so much about it. Make it so bad. I was right there in the city, and I was like, I need to get out. This is so much to do. So I'm gonna get a chance to. And what's the season for that? When does it start?
Oh, the festival. Well, there's festivals all year. It depends where. I think the Big Apple in New York is going on now, because a film where I did some of the casting was there. My film, I have a really tiny part, but the director, I've worked with him before, and he's an Emmy Award-winning director now. Wow. So he knows I will follow him anywhere. It was last month, and it was called the International Shorts. And then they're in other cities too. There's like Connecticut. I don't know how close you are to New Jersey or upstate New York, but they have a lot of them there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you just have to Google festivals like I went to one, Cranford, New Jersey, and there's another Garden State one. Hudson Valley has a lot, in Woodstock. So they're all over now. It's not just New York, LA, and Atlanta. They're
okay. Well, we're close by. We're only 45 minutes from the city.
Oh, so yeah.
We're on the opposite side. We're on one side. Connecticut's on one side, and Jersey's on.
Yeah, but that's nothing. Yeah.
All right, but thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, she has given you a lot of tips and pointers. And if you want to know more, get the book Beginner to Broadway, a how-to guide for aspiring actors. Helene, tell them about the information in that book. Was I right or was I wrong?
Well, you know what? No, Babs really did put everything in it. And I think you know this. I have a few friends who've also written books on how to break into the business. They have about 6 or 7 volumes. You're going to look at it now and you're going to have to update it too. This isn't a criticism. It's just the business keeps changing.
It is.
And these people did the same thing. They've already done like 11 printings, because one of them's been writing it since the 90s. And so every few years, the audition process changed, things we need things that we need to have, our tools. So yeah, but it's a good start for now. And I don't know, like I know you said people have questions. Maybe one day we'll do a panel where they can ask.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's the one thing I would
because
like
I've done a lot of those too. Yeah.
You're those people that maybe we're bringing you into the conversation so you can ask these beautiful questions that you may have.
Yeah. Some people do that.
Great, great. All right. Without further ado, Helene, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Until the next podcast.
That's right.
Cats with Cats. All right, guys. Bye.